my dream was to be an accountant and work for one of those 6 companies. You really want to get a job after you graduate, move to MIS.
What does the word entrepreneur, or in Spanish they call it emprendedor, what does that mean to you?
Having the what if attitude and always questioning and removing yourself from a comfort zone is what makes an entrepreneur. All the people that come to the United States from a different country, they always have that hunger to actually, start something, to do something, to try something new. I'm a big believer on multiple sources of income. Right? I'm a big believer on that. And in order to have multiple sources of income, you definitely need to have that mentality. Right? Success is just you being able to control your time, you being able to control, the things that you want to do. Right?
Welcome to another episode of In the Middle. In this podcast, we discuss how is it to live in the middle of multiple cultures. My name is Eddie Minaya. I'm a design professional and I live in the DC area. Today, the interview is with Gus Delgado. He has been a software engineer for over 20 years. He's an entrepreneur by heart, a real estate owner, and much more. His story will inspire you no matter where you are right now. So let's get started. So tell me a little about you, Gus. Tell me where were you born? Where did you, where did you grow up? Tell me a little bit about, how long you've lived in the United States.
So let's see. I immigrated to the United States back in 1988. So I'm originally from Peru. I started coming to the U.S. since 1986, just on vacations during the summer. Well, summer in Peru. And then 1988, we came thinking that we were going to be here on vacation as well. And when we realized it, I was registered in school and I was ready to start 7th grade.
So you've lived since 1988 here in this area, which is in the Northern Virginia area where we currently are. And then you've been pretty much here for almost the majority of your life at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. I briefly moved to Texas after college, but yeah, most of my life I've lived more in Northern Virginia than I've lived anywhere else.
So when you were a little kid in Peru, or when you were kind of a little kid here when you first came, what did you think you were going to do when you were going to grow up, like professionally? What was your inspiration? What is that you like to do?
I don't think I picked anything specifically when I was younger. I had a few examples of people that I would look up to. I always like what my tío Eduardo did in Peru in terms of like business-wise, like importing things, exporting things from Peru. I remember I have a lot of things that I remember from him, like getting like very cool toys from him because he will actually bring them from outside. And I remember that he used to sell them a lot. So I always liked that. I looked up to my dad too. He was into medicine. I wasn't 100% sure about it, but that was something else that I had in mind. But those I think were my main 2 people that I look up to when I was there.
So what is that you do now today?
So today I do things that are completely different than that, right? So I'm a software engineer by trade, right? So I went to college and I graduated as a software engineer, and that's kind of what my profession is. That's what I've been doing for more than 20 years now.
So tell me a little more of your trajectory of your career, like when you first graduated from, what school did you go to?
I went to Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech. So when you first graduated from Virginia Tech, and you had a computer engineer degree, tell me a little more of what was the career path for the time you started to kind of where you are now.
So funny, because I started as an accounting major, right? Do you remember how my uncle was an accountant? So I started as an accounting major, and I thought back then there were like the big 6 corporations that were big accounting firms around here in the United States. So my dream was to be an accountant and work for one of those 6 companies. But then when I was at Tech, 2nd year of accounting major, I had my roommate, and my roommate was computer science. So one of the things that he told me that I still remember, and I still tell this story all the time, is like, if you really want to get a job after you graduate, move to MIS. And MIS was a new career that was a mix of computer science and business, right? Management Information System is what it stands for. So it's like, if you really want to get a job, change your major to MIS, and you'll have a job all the time.
So that was kind of like writing code, but back in the early 2000s when it was brand new.
Late 90s.
Late 90s, so brand new, late 90s.
Yeah, everything was brand new, and this was a combination of doing business as well as writing code and architecture and databases and all that stuff that were just coming out. So I decided to move to that major after my second year. Graduated as an MIS and got a job in Texas.
Okay, so how long were you in Texas with your first job? And with your first job, were you doing computer science work?
I was a software engineer. That was my title. My title was software engineer, and my first job was as a Java developer. Which is what I've been doing for many years. Java is just a programming language, one of the many programming languages that they have. So started doing that. I was in Texas for 4 years. It's a very good time to be in Austin. Austin is the capital of Texas. Austin is where where a lot of the startup companies were starting up back in 2000, right? So there were a lot of startups in San Francisco, the dot-com era, and there were a lot of startups that were coming into Austin as well. So very good time to be in Austin. Great experience. I gained a lot of experience there, and things were very well in Austin.
And then what happens after Austin? Where did you go to after that?
So Austin was great, right? I mean, there was a lot of work. Cost of living was extremely cheap. I used to pay $600 for like a one-bedroom apartment, gated community. It was like all of the bells and whistles that you can imagine. It was perfect. But my family was not there. My family was here in Northern Virginia. So I was there by myself pretty much. So having to be closer to family, closer to the whole Peruvian culture, I guess, is what I missed from being over there.
There was not a lot of Peruvian.
There was not, I mean, in Austin or in Texas in general, I think it's either, you have, the regular, people from Texas, or you have people from Mexico. That's about it. Tex-Mex, that's it. There's nothing else there. So I don't know if it's changed now, right? But when I was there was nothing other than that, right? So I couldn't go find un pollito a la brasa. I couldn't find that stuff there. So so I missed a lot of that stuff. So I was like, I have to move back and kind of be with the family. Everybody was here, so.
Okay, and then so you moved back. Did you find a job right away when you first moved back to this area?
Yeah. So again, so whatever my friend told me was true, right? You could find a job relatively easy, and you will never have an issue with the job. So I did find a job with a consulting company, doing pretty much the same thing that I was doing in Texas, and obviously got a raise and bought my salary a little bit more, which was great. But obviously the cost of living here was much more expensive than what it was in Austin.
So then, ever since then, you kind of stay in this area, and you kind of been on the same career, kind of doing the same work for that type of work over then. Do you think it's changed much in terms of the amount of work that you can find today versus the amount of work that was back in the late 90s, early 2000s? Because it was the dot-com, and then there was the dot-com, the boom, and then was the crash. So and then it was. Do you think how it is today? Is it pretty much like if someone goes to school for a career of the same degree, computer science today, you think it will be pretty easy to find a good paying job today?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't think IT is going anywhere, right? I mean, there's new flavors of it. You have, AI now. Last year was, I think, data warehouses. The year before that, it was cloud computing. So there's always something, and as long as you stay up to speed, and I think the schools too, at least Virginia Tech, I know, does a really good job of keeping up with those type of courses. As long as you keep up with that, I think you're never gonna have an issue with IT. Okay,
so I'm gonna ask you a question, and I want to get your your input of what it means to you. And we've heard this word, especially in the last maybe 10 years, we hear it a lot more. You know, what does the word entrepreneur, or in Spanish they call it emprendedor, what does that mean to you?
So it's a loaded word, but I think what it means to me, it's a person that has the mentality of what if. You know, what if? What if I try this? What if I do this differently? What if I, extend myself more? What if I, try something that that I haven't tried before? I think having the what if attitude and always questioning and removing yourself from a comfort zone is what makes an entrepreneur. What makes makes you, build something, right? Now, it doesn't have to be building from scratch, right? You don't have to build from scratch. You can repeat what somebody else has done, and and become an entrepreneur. But it's just always questioning that what if, right? So, like a very good example, and just due to the kind of things that I'm involved in, I've always experienced a lot of these things. And being Latino and being an immigrant, there's a lot of what do you call it? There's a lot of interaction that we have with people that have the similar background that we do. And what I always say is that all of the people that come to the United States from a different country, they always have that hunger to actually start something, to do something, to try something new, to question that what if I try this, right? So just a simple example, right? And we like to eat in a lot of different Peruvian restaurants over the weekends. We have our places that we like around the area. The reason why I moved here, but we know this girl. She started selling her desserts from her house. So we will call her and be like, hey, we want alfajores, or we want un pionono, or we want a cake, right? And then she will sell it to you, and we'll go pick up at her house, and then have it. Well, a few years later, I'm sure she asked herself, what if I try to go to a festival and try to sell it on the festival, get a stand there and sell it on the festival? So we started going to festivals, and we started seeing her there, and she had a stand, and she was selling like pre-packaged stuff, and start putting things together and just selling them. It worked out for her, right? I'm sure she then asked herself, what if I try to open up a place, right?
Like an actual store.
Like an actual store, right?
Yeah.
Well, what if, right? She has a store now in Manassas where we go and have breakfast, Peruvian breakfasts. She's got a lot of cakes. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Who she is, yeah.
Okay, you know exactly who she is. She used to sell from her house.
I remember.
Now she's got a restaurant. We just went there 2 weeks ago, and she completely redesigned the whole restaurant. It's a lot bigger. She's got a lot more tables. I'm sure that with the mentality that she has, she can say, well, what if I get another store, right? What if I get another store and, expand? That's what entrepreneurship is, what if?
Yeah, I think a lot of people that come to the United States, especially when they have very little, or even if they don't and they see the opportunities that the things you can build, is a hunger that sometimes you don't have when you are kind of already born onto that kind of given it to you. When you don't have it, you want it, and then you work for it, and that's the hunger that you're referring to. So, do you consider yourself an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if I go based on what I just told you, and questioning things, yeah, for sure. I work for a company for many years. I try to do my own thing as well. From the IT perspective, I actually I'm a big believer on multiple sources of income. Right? I'm a big believer on that. And in order to have multiple sources of income, you definitely need to have that mentality, right? So, we've done different things. We've tried different things that have not worked, things that have worked. But yeah, I think I do have that mentality to try new things.
Okay. So what does success, what does that look like to you? What does it mean to you?
Uh, well, success. I don't know. I think it's like having control of your own life, right? Like having control of what you can or want to do. I think that's what success is, right? Being able to have the time to spend with your family versus having to be in an office 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, 7. So I think it's success is just you being able to control your time, you being able to control the things that you want to do, right? I think that's success. Success doesn't necessarily means money, right? I listen to a lot of podcasts, right? And like I listen to a lot of podcasts that are related to real estate. Like I'm big on that because we invest on properties and such. And one of the things that I hear some people say is like, okay, well, you know what? I have found my fire number, right? I don't know if you ever heard of the FIRE. It's like financial independent. Retirement early kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Financial independent, retire early, right? That's my FIRE number. So, but some people are happy with a FIRE number of like $4,000 a month.
Yeah.
Right? And that's it. That's it. They're done. They are getting cash flow of $4,000 a month from 2 rentals, 3 rentals, and that's it. They made it. They are extremely happy. They can go pick up their kids from school. They can spend time with their kids when they're 3, 4 years old, and that's success for them, right? So it doesn't have to be an amount next to the word success. It's just whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, I heard today. I was listening to I don't remember if it was a podcast or something I saw online, and someone was saying that a lot of times when you feel this success is when it's almost like you feel like you own your time. That you can wake up in the morning and you can do whatever you want with your time because you are successful in a way. Maybe you're financially not necessarily wealthy, but you're in a point that you can say, you know what, I don't feel like doing this today, and you're in charge of your own time. So I think success means different for different people. For some people, it's it can become. It's not necessarily tied to money. It could be tied to your time. It could be tied to your time that you spend with your family. It could be to many different things. It means very different for different people, but to me, it doesn't always necessarily mean that it's all about money. So, if we're talking about success, do you think being a Hispanic person here in the United States, do you think being Hispanic helps you or hurts you to be successful? In other words, you have to work even harder because you're Hispanic and try to be successful in the United States.
Work harder? I'm not a big. I don't think I'm big on working harder. I'm big on working smarter. And so what that means for someone that's an immigrant is taking what you have as opportunity, as leverage, right? So great example, right? I built a company back in 2004, right? So there were a lot of companies that were doing web designs, that were doing web development, and they were doing a lot of those things. There was a lot of them, right? And so what is it that I could provide that was different than those companies when we started that? We spoke Spanish, right? We spoke Spanish, and we were able to actually build sites for customers that were just being introduced to the IT world, to the web pages world, to the digital marketing and all those things. So we were able to leverage that, what we had, right? The fact that we were immigrants, the fact that we were Spanish, and we will actually reach out to those other business owners that were from the same background and kind of provide them a service and provide them a solution and provide them something that they were not aware of and teach them about, internet marketing and SEO and all those things that we, used to work with. So, no, I think I'm big on working smarter and leveraging the things that you may think are maybe a weakness of yours, right? Why would I may think that I'm an immigrant, right? So I'm a little bit below the people that already live here, that already, grown up here and know the way around, around this country. But not necessarily, right? I had something that they didn't have, right? I spoke Spanish. I knew how to, write and do all those things to actually create opportunity. So.
Yeah, and it becomes that you were targeting a specific niche that allow you to then, when you are doing a business, I think that's always a good way, is to find who your audience is and who's gonna, if you're selling a product, who's your audience, who's gonna be your customer. And if you go down to a specific niche, it becomes a lot easier to sell your product. If you like this channel and the story you're listening to, don't forget to like, share, and more importantly, subscribe. And by the way, if my hats have caught your attention, go to the description of this video and you can order them online. They're unique, funny, and inspirational, and they help support this channel. And if you like the cat that you see here behind me, do it for him too. All right, back to the story now. All right, so now let's talk about culture and money. Coming from a Hispanic family, coming from, living in Peru, you had an idea of how money worked when you saw your dad or anyone in your family kind of with money. When you're a kid, you started seeing just how the adults kind of work or spend money, and sometimes that shapes in terms of the way you are with money as you grow up. Do you think culture and money do you think culture plays a role with money today with you?
Yeah, of course. I think it does with everybody. Last year I read a book called The Secrets of a Millionaire Mind.
Yes.
Okay, so in that book, they talk about your blueprint, your financial blueprint. You were raised with a financial blueprint because of what you saw, right? So whatever you saw as a young person, then that's kind of what your blueprint is, right? So my wife, her parents were big on not spending money. No, we cannot spend money. We have to save money. So my wife's blueprint is that. She carries that. Her says save money, save money, save money. We have to save it, right? We have to save it. That's her blueprint. My blueprint was my dad going to the hospital and working as a doctor, then having a side hustle on his own clinic, his private clinic. I remember when I was even younger than that, my grandparents and my parents getting all of the cars lined up right outside my grandparents' house, and they were all taxis that they bought.
I remember.
And then they would rent those taxis to everybody. So all of them would line up in the afternoon, and they would, the drivers would rent the cars, and they would go and do taxi, and taxi out those cars, and then they will get revenue out of that. So that's what is that passive income, right? And Tío Eduardo, he would actually go to the market with his car, open up, have that guy Richard go up and open the trunk and sell stuff right out. So that was my blueprint. So my blueprint was hustle. Hustle. That's my blueprint. So definitely that the culture or what you see as a kid, as a young person, you're definitely gonna, that's how you build. That's how you build the way you're built. That's how I'm built the way that I'm built, because of what we've seen when we were younger.
So you mentioned that working harder, sometimes you try to work smart, not harder. Because do you think working harder, does that not really lead to success?
Not necessarily, right? I can work hard as a carpenter, and as long as I'm working for somebody, I can work hard. He's going to be making the money, but not me, right?
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily equal success unless you step out of your comfort zone. I'm saying, what if again? What if I start my own company, right? Yeah,
that's good. And you think, does age matter at any point? Let's say somebody is, today comes to the United States and they're older, do you think that age matters? Or do you think somebody that comes to the United States today and they have the hunger and they have the blueprint of being a hustler, but they're only 18, do you think it matters?
The age thing is a little bit difficult, I think, and it is a difficult question for me to answer because I am big on I do hustle a lot. I do try a lot of different things, but I'm also big, and I think I'm even bigger on education. Okay, so I know that if I would not go to college like I did, I would not be where I am right now, right? So if you tell me if a young person comes here, I mean, should they be trying to hustle for things or trying to, try new things, or maybe go to school? I think my suggestion for that person would be go to school if you're young, right? Because they can take everything away from you except the education that you have. What you have in your brain, nobody's going to be able to take that from you, right? And the same applies if somebody's older, right? I think people that have been successful here, if they actually found a trade, right? A specific trade. You don't have to go to college. You don't have to go 4 years and spend 4 years in college. But you can find a trade and be good at it, and then specialize in that, and be successful that way. So if it was somebody younger, I would definitely push for school, and if it's somebody a little bit older, for some kind of trade.
Okay. Now I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you a video that I found today, and I want you to tell me what are your thoughts after you've seen these videos. So I'm going to play the first one.
You can make good money on TikTok if you make like a minute-long video. So
this dude's making like $60K a month.
They can make real money.
EOV, you're one of the TikTok clippers. Sketch and Bradley are talking about making $20K a month. So I was a little tired when I got to the office, so I decided to take a nap. But then I had a nightmare of being broke like you guys. Anyways, enough fucking around. It's time to get some work done. So the first thing I do is open Twitch, screen record a funny clip of Sketch. Then I head over to CapCut to put some simple edits, put a title, and I'm done. I make $1,800 off one Sketch video, and I post 3 a day. If you want to do this yourself, you could join my free Discord in bio to learn.
Here, so there's a software called 11 Labs. It's an AI software that does voiceovers, and with that software you can go to ChatGPT and you can type me an ad script that's 60 seconds long for promoting Pure, and ChatGPT is going to do its thing. It's going to give you a script. You take that script, you paste it into 11 Labs, and 11 Labs will give you a voice, a girl voice or a man voice that's reading that script. And then you take that script and you put it into Midjourney, and Midjourney is another AI that will create images, and now you have this video that's created by AI that you can post on TikTok that will promote Pure or whatever product it is that you're trying to sell. And every time that video brings in a sale, you get paid a commission. So I have kids that are 16, 17, 18 years old making anywhere between 20.
You need to put as many clips on TikTok as you can, and you know it too. Yep.
That's a clip of Case talking about me because last month I made over $20,000 with TikTok. So this is exactly what I do to make all this money. The first thing I do when I open my phone is head to YouTube. Then I pick any video that I want to clip and copy the link to it. After that, I head to Creo.ai and use the clipping feature to paste the link. Now I just need to select which video is going to the bottom, and also select my animated subtitles. Then I just press generate, and this thing makes the whole video for me. When the video is done, I just have to export it and post it on one of my theme pages. And last month I made over $6,000 with this page alone.
To make these videos, and then
$1,800 off one Sketch video, and I post 3 a day. If you want to do this yourself, you can join my free Discord in bio to learn.
So what comes to your mind when you see these videos that these, I'm gonna call it kids because they're, for the most part, they all look very, very young. Obviously these 3 are specifically about TikTok, and then they're, TikTok it is known for, you can monetize your content after you hit a certain number of people following you, and you can make obviously money. How much of this is true? I mean, they're showing the screenshots, maybe not. I mean, obviously I don't know them, I just found them and I thought it was interesting to kind of hear this. But what goes through your head when you see this?
I don't know. I mean, I think if it was that easy, I mean, I think everybody would be doing it. And I know there's a lot of people doing it, but I can assure you that there's a lot more people that are posting videos and not getting any hits than the people that are actually doing this. That's one thing that comes to my mind. The second one that comes to my mind is, okay, it looks easy, and I'm giving you all of these steps. If you're making so much money, would you want everybody to be doing the same thing?
You're giving your formula away.
Do you really want to give your formula away? Or do you have to click on something and then, you're going to get to register to a class or something that they will give you, a tutorial or something that you have to subscribe to, and then they make their money that way, right? So I think a lot of those things nowadays, a lot of those clips and that you see on TikTok or you see on YouTube, a lot of those things are just, they're just fishing for people to click on it and be like, okay, let me sell you my subscription to my training on this or my training on that, and for, I don't know, $10 or for $15, I'll show you how to do this. And I know people are making money. I mean, and like I told you, I do a lot of this. I see a lot of those things related to real estate, and they all have classes. They all have something that they want. I'll show you how to find off markets. It is not, and I've done it. It's not easy to get things going. It's not as easy as just putting a video and saying, okay, step 1, 2, and 3, $1,000 next month. It's not going to be like that.
So let's say that one of your kids today tells you that this is what I want to do.
They want to get influencer.
They want. This is what I want to do. I want to do content, and I want to get paid from doing content. I see other people that are doing it. I want to do that. What will you tell your kids if they tell you that that's what they want to do today?
They never told me that they wanted to do that kind of stuff, but what we've always told them is that you get a real career first. Get a real career on something that it will be meaningful to you and that it will provide to you financially, right? And if you want to do something on the side, you can do whatever you want on the side, right? You want to be, I don't know, a painter, I want to paint, you can do that. You want to be a PE teacher, no offense to PE teachers, but you can do that on the side, right? Get your education and get something that will help you financially, will be something that is real, that's tangible. And then if you wanna try something as a hobby, as something else, then fine. You always have something to remember. What I told you. Nobody can take away your education, right? Nobody can take that away from you. That's kind of like the strategy that I guess, when we had conversations with our kids related to careers and such. That's what we usually tell them.
Well, the challenge I see with people doing this, monetizing their content today, and some of them are making this amount of money that they kind of bragging about. The problem will be is, like, if you're on a platform where TikTok is paying you this amount of money, if for some reason, as you know, right now Congress is trying to ban TikTok from the United States. So if they ban your monetization and your channel of income is gone. So I think you're relying on a platform to do something to get paid, and I think that I always see that as a risk. But obviously, I guess it's working for some people, not for everybody, but it is working for some.
Right.
I just found them interesting when I found them, because I even, how TikTok, how their algorithm works. You'd watch one, and all of a sudden I was getting them back to back, and I just found them kind of interesting that they were almost saying the same thing, just in different ways, but very similar to always tell the same thing. So, do you think now that we saw these kids making this amount of, they're bragging on the amount of money they're making. You had a successful career. You thrive. You have this what if idea. You're a hustler trying to make money. And then so now, where you are today, do you think that from your point of view, does money bring you happiness?
No, absolutely. I mean, I think we kind of mentioned that on the previous question. I don't think money brings you happiness. It doesn't bring you happiness. It brings you flexibility, right? It allows you to,
Yeah.
it gives you that freedom and that flexibility to do whatever you want to do. That's kind of what money brings you, but that for sure, I can assure you that it doesn't bring happiness.
Yeah, I today and again I listen always on the background as I'm working. I listen sometimes to different podcasts, and there was one story I heard where they were talking about people that are wealthy and people that are not. People that are wealthy like to spend money, or they necessarily they spend money without, for example, you need a pair of shoes, and you are wealthy, you can afford to go to the Gucci store and get yourself an 800 pair of sneakers, and it's nothing for you. But you you become a simpler person, and you buy the shoes that you always like. They say this Nike that cost you $130, still expensive, but it's not an $800 pair of shoes. So you change your mentality and how you spend money when you have more. But the people, less. And you spend less. You spend less to a degree in terms of percentage based on your income. But the people that have less, or the people that are living paycheck to paycheck, become sometimes this idea that I want to show off, and they're spending and buying those $800 Gucci loafers, even though they shouldn't be buying it because they can't really afford it. And they're the ones buying it. They're buying these expensive purses, they're buying these expensive cars, sometimes that you can't really afford it. But you do it because it's almost like you're trying to show off, or trying to show to other people that almost like you're bragging about the things that you can do, even though really you can't. So it was like this guy was talking about how when he didn't have money, it was like that, and then he's like, once I became successful and I was wealthy, he's like, there was a shift, and now it doesn't matter. I look at more, it's like money it's just a driver to buy my comfort and more of a peace of mind. But things like that, especially expensive brand name, it makes less of a difference.
Yeah, I think you start learning, right? As you start managing money, you start more and more money, you actually start learning how to manage it, right? So you have a better idea as to where your money goes to. And when you start getting your financials organized, then you start figuring out things that really matter and the things that don't matter. I can tell you how much I spend to the penny, like all of my expenses a month, because they're just very straightforward. There's no ambiguity in terms of what I feel like spending on this, spending on that, and things like that. And like you say, keeping up with the Jones and all of that stuff, right? I think people sometimes have that mentality that they want to keep up with the Jones.
Yeah, it's
pasó una mosca, ¿viste que pasó una mosca?
No.
A ver, fíjate, pasó la mosca. Oye, pasó una mosca.
Okay, so now we're in 2024. We hear a lot of, in the last few years, there's been an explosion of what we hear, AI, artificial intelligence, and what it can do, and all the things that, how it's helping business, it's helping people make money. Do you think AI, money, and culture, do you think things have changed over the years, or do you think things are going to change even more because the way AI is kind of changing kind of the way we're working, the way we're communicating, the way we are interacting is changing pretty much a lot of our society. Do you think that's going to have an impact in the way we see culture and money?
Yeah, for sure. AI is pretty scary. There's a scary component to AI. Yeah. I started doing this a few years back. I started setting up goals for like every year. I want to have 6 or 7 goals that I want to be able to meet every by the end of each of the years. So
financial goals, or the more
all of it doesn't matter. It can be financial, goals. Anything, just goals, right?
Okay.
So I'll tell you one of the ones that I have for this year, which was no social media posting.
Okay.
No social media posting. Why? because last year I had to take a few AI training classes, and it's pretty scary what you can do with AI, right?
Yeah,
it's pretty scary, all of the things that can manipulate with it, you can manipulate with AI. I used to post a lot of things about my trips with my kids, videos of my kids, a lot of things that are related to them, right? And the things that you can do with those videos with AI, it's pretty scary.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the bad part of AI.
Yeah.
The good part about AI is like anything else on IT, right? It will bring a new version of the industry, of the technology industry, right? So people will be making money. There will be things that you can put, or good products that you can put out there that will, monetize to something, right? And monetize quite a bit, right? So definitely AI can be, it's a double-edged knife, right? Could be good, could be bad. For sure, people are going to take advantage of it in both ways, and people will take advantage of AI.
Do you think the artificial intelligence, and let's talk about that in the Hispanic, the Hispanic culture here in the United States, do you think we are, our Hispanic culture is somewhat behind with not keeping up with artificial intelligence, or do you think we're right across? And let me tell you where I come from, where this question comes, is because I noticed this is about 12 years ago. I was starting a business, and it was about this is even pre-Groupon, and I had a similar idea to do group buying for Hispanic family, and I launched the product, and it was a learning experience for when I did it. But I noticed that the population, and this is not necessarily everybody, but it's a good amount, especially I think every region where you live is always going to be a little bit different in terms of the Hispanic culture. Here in the Northern Virginia area, I feel that the Hispanic culture, it's not keeping up with the technology the way everybody else is. So what I noticed is that they were behind with certain things that I was, in the American market, it was working, it would work, but then the Hispanic market, it was just very different. It was almost like they didn't know what it was, and it was behind. So, do you think today that we are behind, like our like our community, you think is somewhat behind with artificial intelligence, if compared to someone that's like not a non-Hispanic living here? At least let's talk about more specific to a region here in the Northern Virginia area.
It depends, right? Because you have another generation of Hispanics now, right? And you have our generation, which is like true immigrants, right? So maybe that part of the generation, I guess would be the Gen X's, that may be a little bit behind when it comes to new technologies, including AI. But Hispanics that have been born here, that are, I guess, they be Gen Z, I guess, right? Not millennials, but Gen Zs, I think is what comes next. Those guys are up to speed, and they are using AI, right? So a lot of the things that you show me here, those are all AI tools that are available to do a lot of those things.
Yeah.
And the kids that are trying that are, there's no culture there, right? I mean, it could be Hispanics, it can be whites, it can be Asians. I mean, they all go at it, right? They all know how to do this, right? I mean, you give your phone to one of my daughters, just 17 and 20. I mean, they can do a lot more than I can do with this now, right? Because
they grew up with
it. So I don't necessarily think that it's a Hispanic thing. I mean, it's just more of a generation thing, right? In our case, for the Hispanic that have migrated here from our generation, and then from our parents' generation, which then for sure we're behind. For sure we're behind.
Okay. So now being in 2024, we talked a little bit about culture. We talked about now the latest artificial intelligence and how it can help you make money. And we saw that with his kids bragging on the phone and the money that they're making. Do you think in 2024, do you think making money, it's much easier than it was, let's say, 20 years ago?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's much easier, right? So not only easier, but the risk is a lot less, right? Because I can try things without taking anything out of my pocket, right? So there's other book that I read last year that was related to multifamily real estate, which is buying buildings and stuff like that. And so one of the things that they say is delay the amount of cash that you have to put in a deal as much as possible, right? So delay how much skin you're gonna put in the game. You can delay that as much as possible, right? Like for example, they say, before you put a deposit on it, go with your contractor and check each of the units. Check the outside. Talk to your mortgage company and see how much it's gonna come out. Everything that people can do for free for you, do it, delay it, and then delay you actually putting skin on the game. Doing things like what you just showed me, you don't have to put any skin on the game, right? You just pretty much try it out, right?
Yeah.
Another thing, with all the platforms that we have available there, right? So Turo, people now buy their cars and they don't make car payments. Why? Because they just put their cars on Turo, and they make the car payments that way. It's another source of income. Remember how we talked about multiple sources of income? Now you have so many options to have multiple sources of income, with things that you may have, or with your time, or trying things like what those guys are doing, right? Trying things like that. It may not work. I just know it's not as easy as what they're saying in there. Yeah. You can put some work into it, but it is possible. Obviously, there's people that are making money doing digital marketing like that.
So I remember back in the, let's say, 2000s, early 2000s, anyone, for, let's say, entrepreneurs or anyone that was successful and that was wealthy, a lot of times, it was like a Bill Gates, it was like a Mark Zuckerberg, they were really, really smart, and there was, their success it always, almost all the time, was pretty tied to how smart they were. Do you think in 2024, in order to make money, and when I say money, I'm not saying just a little money, but to become, to be able to make a good amount of money, do you not have to be as smart or as creative as, like they were or like they are, because now the landscape has changed and there's so many other ways you can make money?
Yeah, I don't think you have to be as smart. I don't think you have to be as smart. You just have to be a risk taker, right? You have to be able to take risks and take whatever comes with that risk, right? Whether it's good or it's bad. So I think everybody that's make a lot of money, even those guys that are extremely smart guys, have taken risk, right? They've taken the risk to actually go for it. So it's all about what is your temperature for taking risk? Right? Do you really have what it takes to take risk and do something or try something or not? And then going back to immigrants, right? And how they they have nothing to lose when they come here and they try new things. So and that's how some of them are extremely successful.
So do you now feel that you're, like in 2024, do you feel today that you have accomplished professionally the things that you wanted to do?
Professionally, yeah. I think professionally I am where I wanted to be. I could easily stay where I'm at and I'd be extremely happy. Personally, no. Personally, I think I can have room to grow still. There's things that I want to try. So when I say professional, I mean everything related to IT and technology. I think I've done what I needed to do there, and I think I'm pretty satisfied to where I made it to. Personally, though, I do want to try new things, right? And the reason behind that is that you don't grow if you feel comfortable. Right? The only time you grow is when you're uncomfortable. Once you're uncomfortable is when you start growing and start, seeing more success. And that's I like that mentality. I like to be uncomfortable, right? So to try this thing, try something else, manage it. Everything looks good. now you're comfortable. You have like set of tasks and things that you do on a day-to-day basis because you already I don't know, for example, right? We bought a house and we rented it out. We fixed it up. We rented it out. We were all stressed out about it. Do this, that, get the tenant, boom, boom, boom. Then now the tenant is there. It's paying on a monthly basis. And okay, great. I have cash flow, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But that's it. Then what I need now? I'm comfortable now. I don't want to be comfortable. I want to be uncomfortable. So I want to try something new. I want to try something different.
So that's how you grow. That's
how you grow, right? Oh, let's do another one. Let's try another one. Okay. And so we have so many stories about, we've had houses that have gone through like drive-bys, with like shootings and stuff like that. We have so many different stories about so many different things, but it's just the experience and being uncomfortable.
So if today you lost everything, you have the knowledge, you have the education you have up until now, but today you lost everything, all the money that you have, all the properties that you have, your job, you're down to zero. What would you do to kind of get back to where you are today?
I would get a 9-to-5 again. Well, that would be my first step, right? Mm-hmm. I would pretty much follow the same process that I've done, and maybe do a little bit faster. And then obviously I wish I knew back then what I know now, in terms of like being in my younger time. But what I would do is I would definitely get a job, and like I said, in IT, you can never go wrong. Nobody's gonna take away the education that I have, mm-hmm. or the experience that I have. And then I will, do the whole real estate investing again. I think that's, there's so many strategies in real estate that helps you grow and build wealth relatively fast. And now I think I know the things that I like. One simple thing is like house hacking. I don't know if you ever heard of house hacking.
Yeah, when you live in your house for 2 years and then you move out.
No, house hacking is when you buy a house and then you rent your basement. See? Hispanics do a lot of that stuff, right? They do a lot of. That's called house hacking, right? Because if I buy a townhouse and I rent the basement, and if my mortgage is $2,000 and then I charge $1,000 for the basement, I'm paying only half, right? So that's a good way of paying off your mortgage, and in real estate they call it house hacking. That's house hacking. Or people go as far as renting per room. They rent each of the rooms and stuff, right? So what do they do with that? They actually save up that money, and they're still paying their $2,000 a month, their mortgage, and with that money they go and buy another rental house.
I heard in real estate that some people do this is also they buy the house, you live there for 2 years, I think it's after you live in the house, and then you rent it out, and then you move on to another house, and you live there for 2 years, and you kind of do the same thing. So you don't sell it, you just kind of keep buying another property. And a lot of times, if you have gain equity, you take equity out of the house that you're moving out from, and then you buy another house with that money. So it's almost like you're just growing your money with real estate. But yeah, I never thought of it. It's like there, obviously in the Hispanic community, there's a lot of where they rent their part of their home, and then they're offsetting their mortgage, and then they're technically saving money that way. So if someone was coming to the United States, a Hispanic person just starting a career or a business and just arriving to the United States, but wants to start a business or wants to start a career, what advice will you give that person today?
Again, it depends on the age, right? I mean, if it's somebody younger, I would definitely try to steer that person towards education. I'm big on that, just because I've seen the results of it, right? So just for personal experience, I think I will try to steer a young person towards education, because nobody's gonna be able to take that away from you. And then if it's somebody older, to do some kind of trade, right? To try to to be good at something, right? And you don't have to go to school for that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, like we said before, right? Like a painter can paint and then eventually build their own company, right? The lady that I told you, she can get her own restaurant, you know. So it's
Doing desserts, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So it's, you know, it's just asking that what if, right? What if I can do something more?
So if you have a time machine today and you actually are able to go to visit yourself when you're 24 years old, so what would you tell yourself, knowing what you know today, to your 24-year-old self?
Stop buying so much bullshit and buy some assets, man. That's what I would tell myself. Yeah, just buy assets, man. Buy assets. Just stop buying BS and just start buying things that matter. You know, don't try to keep up with the Johns and just
To buy more, buy smart,
buy smart.
buy things that are going to go
things
up in
that,
value.
yeah, exactly. Assets, right? Anything that's an asset is, you know, I mean, I would start buying like real estate when I was 24, man. You know, and I did. I bought my first house when I was 27 years old, but I didn't know any better. So I sold it, bought another one, bigger one, and I mean, it still worked out. But imagine if I would have kept that and I would have recycled my money, like you said, right? Recycle my money and just continue doing it year after year after year after year. I mean, I have 24, you know, properties.
That house would have been also through probably twice as much as it is today as it was back then.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so one last thing is I want you to write down a question. So the next person that I do an interview, I'm gonna ask the question that you're gonna write down. So we won't obviously have what the question is, but I'm gonna ask you to write it down. I'm gonna give you a pen. And write down a question that you would want to ask the next person. Good one. All right, well, man, I appreciate your time today. It was really fun to do this. I know it's I think interesting to hear your story. I mean, I know your story, most of your story, but there was a few things that I've learned about you today that I didn't know. So I appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you for your time. This was interesting. I've never done this before, so I think this is for sure something new to me. I like to try new things, and this is definitely something new. Thank you.
All right, man. Hacer un primer test. Test 1, 1, 2, 3. Habla West test 1, 2, 3. Test. Okay.
Test 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Bushes that seem to be just
Fake bushes.
Yeah, it looks fine.
It looks tilted, right?
Mira la
But on the
cámara,
frame,
se ve un
it looks
poco
fine.
like
Se ve un poco choca.
tilted,
Sí, se ve un poquito choca la
right? Yeah, como the frame is not a. It's something is up.